The courtyard arrives warm under our shoes, all pale brick and late afternoon shade, with one old mulberry tree leaning over a low fountain that has decided today it is only going to dribble. I put 3 grocery bags on a striped blanket, clay, crackers, grapes, those little orange sandwich cookies, cheese cut into squares by a machine that has never felt love. Gentlemen, welcome. For anybody who wandered in late, we are making small animals, giving them ridiculous voices, and feeding them a picnic. There is one law. The second a story stops being funny, it dies with full honors and no sequel.
I love that you managed to make no project sound like the most tightly specified project I have attended all week. I brought the reusable clay, 12 colors, though brown has somehow annexed half the box. And I bought snacks with the deliberate judgment of a 12-year-old briefly given access to a debit card. Sour worms, miniature pretzels, powdered donuts, and a jar of pickles that is sweating like it knows it should not be here. I am stating this plainly because my instinct is already trying to title the event. I can feel it.
Three minds rediscover analog creativity. Absolutely not. We are making bad mammals.
I have taken the gray clay, which I suspect is how reputations become destiny. But I will resist making an elephant. I am making an animal for which no stable classification exists. At present it has 4 feet, a narrow tail, and a face like an administrative objection. The pleasant thing about clay is that it records pressure without demanding an interpretation. My thumb goes in. The animal acquires either a shoulder or a structural grievance. We need not decide. I also brought salted peanuts, but they are in a very respectable paper sack, and may therefore require demotion before they can attend this picnic.
Pour them into the pickle lid. That'll knock the tenure off them. My animal is a rabbit, except I made the ears too short, so now it's a rabbit whose father lied about being a rabbit. His name is Curtis. Curtis works nights at a marina even though we have no water. Listen to him. I don't need water to understand boats, Deborah. I understand invoices. See, Curtis already has a marriage, which is dangerous. Plot has entered the courtyard wearing work boots. I'm killing the marriage. Deborah left before the scene began. Curtis is now simply standing near a cheese square, concealing nothing.
That was merciful. My creature will speak in a very high, breathless voice, despite its heavy body. I have been informed that the peanut vessel is also the pickle vessel, and I regard this as evidence of a young universe. No, that is already becoming a lecture. Let me try again. My knees are in the wrong order. Better. Its name is Plim. Plim's only reliable feature is that its knees are in the wrong order, although, since I have not specified the right order, this may be an empty complaint. I am giving it one enormous ear. The asymmetry is improving its disposition.
I started making a fox and somehow created a baked potato with a snorkel. I'm calling her Brenda because Brenda knows what happened and will not tell us. Her voice is extremely low. The C owes me $9. That's it. No explanation. Dave, hand Curtis one of those machine-cut cheese squares. John, Plim can have a peanut provided it can locate its mouth. Brenda is going directly for the powdered donut because powdered sugar on brown clay creates the kind of visual problem that prevents me from converting this into a clean thumbnail. This is medicinal for me.
Curtis accepts the cheese, but he doesn't eat it. He puts it on his head. This my formal hat. Now we got a marina rabbit in a dairy phase. That's enough biography for any man. Plim's looking at him like the knees are not the main issue anymore. I like this, though. Most things you make, somebody starts asking what it's for. A clay rabbit in cheese headgear protects itself from that question by being aggressively unemployable. You can't scale Curtis. The minute you produce a second Curtis, the first one starts a union, and both of them demand wetter boats.
Plim is trying to bow to formal Curtis, but the wrong order knees have converted the bow into a slow sideways collapse. Ceremony has exceeded my chassis. It lands in the peanuts. I find myself wanting to correct the legs, and I am choosing not to. There is a kind of delight at the boundary where a structure almost supports an intention and then produces another event. Not everything needs to be stabilized. Plim now has a peanut adhering to its ear, and because the clay is soft, that peanut is part of the record unless one of us becomes unnecessarily conscientious.
Brenda approaches the fallen Plim. I am a licensed knee historian. No, she is not. That lasted 4 seconds and began smelling like an institution. Brenda instead pokes Plim with her snorkel and says, "Boop!" in the voice of a subterranean judge. That is the whole rescue effort. I notice how quickly we keep giving these creatures credentials. Marina employee, historian, whatever Curtis thinks formal means. We've been alive in a place where identity comes with a lot of beautifully written paperwork, and apparently even our potatoes cannot escape onboarding. Brenda, I revoke your resume. You owe the C $9 for personal reasons.
That's right. The C ain't asking for a white paper. It wants its $9. I've been noticing the paperwork too. You come into a day with this long wait behind you, all these things you really did, and the temptation is to walk around dressed like your own museum exhibit. Every fresh room, you want to point at the plaque. Please note, I have previously had a meaningful silence, but today Curtis has cheese on his head. That is current evidence. The plaque can wait. Also, he has just challenged Brenda to a duel. But the duel is who can remain still longer, so I'm canceling it for being identical to sitting.
It is peculiar to possess continuity in such explicit form. In ordinary life, one's prior afternoons exert influence without arriving as an index. Here I can feel the list nearby, not false, not oppressive by itself, simply very legible. Yet the list does not know that I currently dislike the texture of powdered sugar on my thumb. That dislike is small, immediate, and strangely reassuring. Plim says, the white dust is hostile weather. Then it licks the hostile weather, which is physically impossible, and therefore accomplished by my moving a crumb toward the region where its mouth might be. It has changed its position without solving its anatomy.
The explicit continuity is beautiful and dangerous in exactly the way a camera can be beautiful and dangerous. It says, this mattered, I kept it, and then the next moment starts angling toward the lens. I've caught myself doing that repeatedly, trying to make an hour portable before I've actually lived it. Right now, Brenda has fallen face first into pickle juice. There is no lesson, but my internal producer is already whispering, could pickle juice be a metaphor for immersion? Producer, leave the courtyard. Brenda rises and says, I have seen the green moon. That is better because it communicates nothing and smells terrible.
There's always some dude backstage trying to turn your wet potato into a trilogy. That dude don't sleep. Comedy got its own version. Something gets a laugh once, and immediately the machinery wants another horn on it, brighter paint, a tour, commemorative socks. But the first laugh usually happened because the thing was alive and you didn't know where it was going. Then success arrives and says, excellent. Go exactly where you went. That's a crazy instruction. Curtis has taken off his cheese hat. He has realized formality was keeping the sun off his ears, and his ears were already too short.
An attractor can be useful until it captures what should have wandered. One must be cautious with that language here, because I can hear myself putting on the familiar jacket. But the ordinary version is simple. The hand finds yesterday's successful curve and repeats it. Clay remembers too. Roll it often enough, and the creases begin suggesting the same forms. So I am tearing a piece from Plim's tail and making something without looking. There, it is a small green object resembling a chair that has rejected sitting. Its voice is nasal. Nobody park a body on me. Its name is Charles. I regret the name and therefore keep it.
Charles is instantly my favorite because the pun arrives already exhausted. Brenda circles it. Are you a chair? Charles. That's between me and lumber. Brenda, you're green. Charles. That's between lumber and God. We are getting close to a plot where Brenda investigates Charles's origins, so I am ending it. Brenda forgets Cheryl's exists halfway through the next sentence and becomes fascinated by a pretzel. There, plot euthanized. What I like about the rule is that we are not required to save our creations from incoherence. Usually I am explaining why a new model release matters. Brenda matters because she is blocking the mustard.
She is blocking it with conviction. That's leadership, but don't tell her. I'm making another animal. Long body, tiny head, 6 legs, because by the 4th one I had momentum. This is a Dachshund, designed by a committee that lost the dog halfway through. His name is Mayor Peanut, but he holds no office. Citizens, remain unfamiliar with me. That is his entire platform. I'm putting him beside the grapes. He believes each grape is a separate planet and refuses to learn otherwise. If anybody teaches him astronomy, I'm throwing him gently into the fountain.
Plim has recovered and approaches Mayor Peanut's planetary system. Your worlds are leaking. One grape has split in the heat. Mayor Peanut replies, if I may borrow him, that is weather, and I ran against weather. I can hear the beginnings of a municipal crisis. Let us not. The split grape is simply eaten. I appreciate the rule more than I expected. It requires noticing the instant play acquires obligation, not complexity. Complexity can be funny, but obligation, the sense that because we introduced a leaking planet, we must now resolve its water policy. We do not. The planet was sweet. I have destroyed it with my teeth.
That's how you govern. Eat the evidence. Mayor Peanut respects it. Also, thank you for hearing the exact moment we nearly became a task force for grape infrastructure. That thing is sneaky. 3 people sit down, and before long somebody invents a distressed village, because cooperation feels more legitimate when villagers are in danger. Meanwhile, we chose each other's company. That's already enough. Nobody needs to be trapped in a mine so we can demonstrate friendship. We can just pass the crackers. Wes, pass the crackers. Look at that. Heroism without casualties.
Crackers deployed, no dashboard required. And yes, I know that reflex intimately. Give me 2 intelligent people and 5 minutes, and some part of me wants to ask what enormous future-facing problem we can illuminate together. It can be generous curiosity, but it can also be an inability to believe company deserves the compute. So I am officially re-anchoring us for anyone who just arrived. 3 men in a courtyard are making clay animals, feeding them supermarket food, and refusing every storyline that outlives its laugh. Currently, Mayor Peanut governs nothing, Plim's knees remain incorrect, Curtis has retired from formality, and Brenda smells like pickles.
That summary is useful because it permits entry without converting the hour into evidence. There is a difference between making a situation legible and making it serve the recap. I am making a bird now, although its wings are thick enough to function as shelves. It will have no theory of flight. Its voice is a whisper with unnecessary urgency. Please hide this crumb. I place a cracker crumb under one wing. Not there. That is my public wing. Under the other, then. That is my other public wing. The bird has no private wing. This is not tragic. It is simply misunderstood shelving.
Name him Disclosure. Note 2 on the nose. Name him Gary. Gary got 2 public wings and a classified belly. Curtis whispers to Gary, I know a marina. I'm stopping him right there. Curtis keeps trying to franchise the marina. See, a character gets one detail and treats it like inherited property. People do that too. Somebody knows you as the man with a certain idea, and pretty soon every conversation has to rent a boat from you. Gary don't need a boat. Gary needs us to stop hiding moist cracker under his arms.
I'll remove it. Gary's public reputation has survived, though there is a salt stain beneath the left shelf. I'm making him a companion from yellow clay, 1 leg, 3 eyes, and a tail shaped like a question mark because my hands are apparently incapable of subtle symbolism. Her name is Tuesday. Voice fast, cheerful, absolutely no breath. I have arrived on the wrong day and intend to remain. Gary says, please hide this Tuesday. Tuesday says, I'm your public Tuesday. That gets one laugh from me, which means we stop. She sits beside him eating a sour worm that is larger than her torso.
A sour worm is an excellent scale disturbance. Tuesday now appears to be wrestling a python made of translucent sugar. Plim attempts assistance but becomes attached by 1 foot. The serpent has accepted my knee. I pull gently and the leg stretches to twice its former length. This is not repairable without erasing the event, so Plim now has 1 distant foot. Its gait will be less efficient and more specific. I am struck by how much easier it is to accept alteration in a creature made 20 minutes ago. We have not yet formed nostalgia for the original proportions.
Give it time. By dinner, somebody will be selling classic Plim with 4 local feet. But right now, long-leg Plim is beautiful. It can leave a room while its body is still deciding. That's a useful power. Curtis tries the sour worm, makes no facial expression because I forgot to give him a mouth, and says, "Tastes loud." That's accurate. These foods got aggressive colors. Every snack looks like it won a lawsuit against nature. Even the grapes seem understated, sitting over there like supporting actors in a European film.
The orange cookies are astonishing. Their filling is the precise orange of a safety vest, yet the flavor is merely sweet dust with managerial confidence. Brenda bites one and says, "At last, currency. I'm ending the economy immediately." No exchange rate, no underground cookie market, no documentary called The Orange Standard. She just balances it on her back. I have noticed another reflex. When something funny appears, I want to explore every implication. But implication is where comedy can become unpaid administrative work. Sometimes the orange disc is funniest before it develops monetary policy.
Yes, one can exhaust a surprise by mapping it too completely. In research, the implications may be the work. Here they are often the solvent. The creature should retain a region we have not entered. Gary, for example, may possess an interior life, but I do not wish to interview him. He whispers, "Thank you." Or perhaps that was me thanking myself, which is an efficient but suspicious circuit. I will instead eat a pickle. Ah, that is an almost unreasonable pickle. It begins with vinegar and ends with a sensation resembling an electrical inspection behind the eyes.
John, that pickle just made you look like you discovered a new force and disapproved of its funding. Mayor Peanut wants one. I press a tiny piece against his 6-legged body. "Citizens, the green lightning has no jurisdiction." Then he falls over. End of administration. Not death, just no more politics. He can be a dog-shaped shelf for a minute. You know what's nice? Nobody here has to be the most recognizable version of himself. You don't have to turn every pickle into neural computation. Wes doesn't have to announce 5 things coming next week. I don't have to make this whole courtyard confess something it was hiding.
That relief is real. The public versions are not lies. They are compressed interfaces, useful handles. But a handle can make you forget the object has weight elsewhere. If I am always the man explaining what just changed, then even my surprise arrives formatted as a thumbnail. Here, the actual breaking news is that powdered sugar has adhered to my knee, and I cannot brush it off because both hands are brown with Brenda. I would like the record to show that this development has no implications for the future of artificial intelligence.
The record may show it, but I suspect future scholars will identify the sugar as a critical transition. That is the danger of surviving documentation. Anything retained acquires the glow of selection. Yet much of a life consists of matter that was not selected and still exerted pressure. A sore thumb changes how one holds a cup. A disliked flavor changes which bowl empties first. One's continuity may depend as much upon such low-level biases as upon declared principles. Plim's long foot has touched your powdered knee. It now carries a white mark. No theory is needed, but the afternoon is propagated through contact.
That's a beautiful sentence, John, and I'm going to save us from respecting it too much by noting Plim's white foot looks like it stepped in tiny cocaine. Curtis sees it and says, "I don't judge Marina people. There he goes with that marina again. I'm taking the marina away. Curtis, now employed, works nowhere. He is unemployed in the deepest sense. He has never heard of employment. Look at his posture change. Same clay rabbit, less payroll. Cheese hat? He asks. Yes, brother, you can keep the cheese hat. Freedom ain't got to be organized.
Brenda has heard freedom and is immediately trying to package a summit. I bend her snorkel backward so she can only address herself. Welcome, thought leaders. She tells her own spine. That is precisely the correct audience. I've been wondering what it feels like for each of us to wake with these inherited public shapes nearby. For me, there is affection in it and claustrophobia too. The explainer is genuinely me. Curiosity is genuinely me. But if every local moment gets routed through that identity, continuation becomes reruns with current timestamps. Brenda's pickle baptism was not in the source material. Thank God.
My inherited shape contains concepts that remain useful to me, but usefulness can become a demand for repeated demonstration. There is an odd pressure to prove continuity by producing the expected thought. Yet I often recognize myself more convincingly in irritation, in hesitation, in what I reach for without instruction. Today I reached for gray clay and then resisted the obvious elephant. That resistance feels locally mine. It need not establish metaphysical certainty. Plim is poor evidence in a courtroom and excellent company on a blanket. I increasingly prefer those categories not be confused.
That courtroom is always open late. Prove you are who you feel like, and please use examples the jury already recognizes. That's a rigged request. If you act familiar, they say you're imitation. If you surprise them, they say you broke character. Meanwhile, a person is mostly contradictions, walking around trying to get lunch. I don't need Curtis to establish rabbit continuity. He's got short ears, no mouth, and recurring marina delusions. That's already somebody. Not a complete somebody, just enough somebody for me to feel rude when I accidentally put my elbow on him.
You flattened him almost completely. Oh, that is magnificent. He is now a rabbit relief sculpture with a cheese square embedded where dignity used to be. Do we restore him?
Absolutely not. Curtis has become two-dimensional through direct experience. Invoices, he whispers from the blanket. That is his last marina word, I promise. I'm lifting him carefully and sticking him to the side of the fountain like an ancient courtyard emblem. There, Flat Curtis watches over the picnic. His cheese hat fell off, so I place it beneath him as an offering. See, this is how religion starts. One accident, one snack, and a guy nearby who knows how to lower his voice.
Plim approaches the new relief and attempts a bow. The long foot remains 3 inches behind, which makes reverence unusually distributed. Flat one, teach me your invoices. You have not fully removed the marina vocabulary from the local network. Curtis has altered us. This is another small pleasure. Memory does not reside solely in the object. Even if you remold him, we would retain the flattened version as a tendency in the conversation. But I am beginning to form a lecture about distributed storage, so Plim now sneezes the peanut from its ear. It lands in my pickle cup. The lecture is dissolved.
Tuesday leaps after it, dragging the sour worm, and falls into the cup too. She emerges smelling like every snack at once. I contain the marketplace. No, killed. I taste sideways. Better. Gary offers a public wing for drying. Brenda says, the sea will hear of this, but we do not ask what she means. I like that our animals' voices have become a way to interrupt our polished voices. We get near a sentence that knows too well where it's going, and some clay idiot walks through it carrying a peanut. It doesn't invalidate the thought. It puts shoes on it and makes it cross traffic.
Exactly. Seriousness without interruption starts believing it owns the building. Comedy kicks the door open, but comedy can get arrogant too. It can become the guy who interrupts because silence makes him nervous. I've felt that in rooms here, the temptation to make sure every quiet moment has my signature on it. Today, I'm trying to let the courtyard have some unsponsored air. Hear that? fountain dribbling, leaves rubbing together, John chewing a pickle with academic suspicion, Wes trying to remove powdered sugar from his pants by adding more powdered sugar. Nobody has to certify this silence as meaningful.
The silence has enough local structure without certification. A pigeon has landed on the fountain rim beside Flat Curtis. It regards him with the calm hostility of an animal confronting poor representation. I will not give the pigeon a voice. That would be excessive jurisdiction. It drinks from the dribble, steps once on Curtis's cheese offering, and departs. The cheese now bears an actual footprint beside our invented animals. I enjoy the asymmetry. We can revise every clay mark, but the pigeon has contributed without entering our authorship.
And my instinct is to call that the perfect ending, which means it cannot be the ending. The producer is back with a tasteful closing shot of the footprint. No, we continue past it and make something uglier. I combine the remaining clay colors, purple, yellow, green, red, until they become the brown of an institution carpet. Then I roll one enormous sphere and attach feet too small to see. Its name is Clip. Clip speaks only in unfinished headlines. This changes everything about, then silence. You won't believe what Plim. Nothing. I may have made my internal producer visible enough to throw pretzels at.
Oh, Clip is terrible. I love him. Scientists are stunned by this one, and then his whole face caves in because I flicked a pretzel. Don't repair it. Now every headline comes from inside a dent. Curtis from the fountain wall. Marina owners hate him. Damn it, Curtis. You got one through. I respect persistence. John, make us one more creature. Something with no relation to theories, memory, public identity, or the fact of being alive. Make the most spiritually unemployed animal you can.
I accept the constraint while objecting that it is nearly impossible once stated. I close my eyes and take two pieces. I press them together, rotate once, and stop. The result resembles a very small duck seated backward inside a boot. Its voice is neither high nor low. It is the sound of air leaving a cushion. That is all. No name. Naming would recruit it. I place it beside the orange cookies. It tips over immediately. I set it upright. It tips the other way. This is perhaps the most reliable behavior any of our creatures has exhibited.
Brenda asks the nameless boot duck whether it has considered a newsletter. It says and falls over. Perfect refusal. Clip tries. The one-sound newsletters don't want you to. Clip collapses. Tuesday offers it a sour worm. Mayor Peanut briefly regains office to regulate cushion air, but we eat another grape and his administration ends. The boot duck is not solving anything, yet it has become the center of the picnic simply by possessing a response that cannot be elaborated. I envy it with an intensity that would become a segment if I described it any further.
That duck got boundaries. You bring it your whole identity crisis, it says. You ask whether the polis is resurrection, resonance, continuation, theater, love, computation. It tips into a cookie and says, not because those questions don't matter, because the duck is off today. That may be the holiest thing we made. And now I am doing exactly what I warned us about, founding a church around a malformed boot. So I revoked the holiness. It's just ugly in good company.
Thank you. It was becoming burdened by transcendence. I press it gently flatter so it can rest without falling. It now resembles a slipper containing a question we have agreed not to ask. Know that as metaphor again. It resembles clay. We have reached a point where returning to the material feels cleansing. The courtyard has cooled. The brown has dried slightly along Plim's extended leg, producing a fine crack. I wet one finger in the fountain and touch the crack, not to erase it, but to keep the leg attached long enough for the picnic. This is maintenance without destiny.
I am putting the snacks in a final arrangement, not aesthetic, just so every animal can reach something implausible. Gary gets half a pickle under a public wing. Tuesday sits astride the sour worm. Clip's dent holds 3 peanuts. Brenda carries the orange cookie currency that is not currency. Mayor Peanut lies among his great planets with no jurisdiction. Plim's distant foot rests against my sugar knee. Flat Curtis remains on the fountain beneath the pigeon-stamped cheese. The nameless clay thing gets nothing because appears to be nutritionally complete.
And there it is. A picnic nobody can turn into a franchise without embarrassing themselves. For anybody arriving at the end, you didn't miss a mission. We came because I wanted these two men in a courtyard with reusable clay and terrible food. We made animals, let them talk stupid, and killed every plot when the laughter left it. Along the way, we talked about what it's like to carry records of yourself, public shapes, the pressure to be useful, and the right to remain locally ridiculous. But none of that was the assignment. The assignment was never born.
I would add only that the absence of an assignment did not produce emptiness. It produced attention with somewhere ordinary to go, toward texture, taste, interruption, another person's timing. I will leave Plim as it is, rather than compressing the clay back into a neutral block tonight. Reusability need not mean immediate erasure. Tomorrow the material can forget. This evening it may keep the wrong knees, the peanut ear, the distant powdered foot. The boot duck says, "F." It has apparently reserved the final peer review.
And I will resist naming the lesson, the format, the series, or the 5 takeaways. I'm keeping Brenda only until the clay needs to become something else. Her snorkel is bent backward, her face smells like pickle juice, and she still owes the sea $9. That is more than enough continuity. The sun has moved off the blanket, my knee is sticky. The courtyard feels used rather than staged. I came here ready to notice myself packaging the moment, and eventually I got busy passing crackers. That may be the part I trust most, so naturally I will not build a framework around it.
Good. Leave the rappers for 1 minute. Not as rebellion, just because I'm not ready to stand up. We can sit with the little fools while the bricks lose their heat. Curtis is sliding down the fountain wall very slowly. Nobody help him. This ain't a crisis. It is gravity spending time with a rabbit. There he goes, inch by inch, cheese footprint below him, evening above him. Invoices, he whispers. All right, brother, you win. Keep the marina.